and welcome to another episode of Amiga Retro Adventures. And today we will be doing my dishes. Yes, very exciting. It's a very complicated process. It has to be done from time to time. It's actually very technical at times, but perhaps I'll save you from that, and we will focus, pardon the pun, on what we need to address today, or what the episode is actually about, which is the CD32. So this is part 3 of the episode, and the final one for now, with starring the Amiga CD32. It'll be showing to, I will be showing you some upgrades. So basically, as you can see right now, it's in its stock condition. So I'll turn on the monitor, which actually already is on, and I will turn this on. And you will see that it will show you the logo in no time. And there we go. Of course, black and white because of the PAL color signal on an NTSC monitor, at least the composite input anyways. The RGB is fine with PAL, it's just the composite. So, we're getting a bit of that flicker again, I see. I will correct that and be right back. Okay, so that is much better. I don't want to give anybody seizures and whatnot. But as you can see, this is basically the stock setup. So what I have today, so I move this gently over. There we go, tilt that down a bit. Gotta make sure I lock this down because it's gonna want to fall on me. There we go. So, I have some products that will help turn this pretty much into an Amiga 1200 with, of course, the bonus of CD32 compatibility and other features, so you can use this as a full-blown computer. So the first thing is this expansion here. So even by itself it's usable. Right now you could, this plugs into the expansion port on the bottom of the CD32, like so. And any expansion cards, sorry about that, will go into this slot. But on the back, as you can see, we have, if I can keep this in frame, that's RGB, which of course this monitor will handle. So there's an RGB port, which is nice, built in. And this is the PIC chip, which lets you use the PS2 keyboard. So this will basically give you a keyboard, and of course the mouse you can still use on the side here, along with the joystick. It'll give your keyboard an RGB port. So by itself alone, it'll give you at least some expansions to hook it up to an RGB monitor and use a keyboard and mouse combination. So that's nice, but you can do more with this. So I will put this to the side, there. What we have here is, if I can read this correctly so I don't get this wrong, is the Terrible Fire TF330, which is right here. So this is an 030 running at 50 megahertz. I believe that's an 040, EC040, so it has no MMU in it, but the Amiga doesn't use that on most programs and whatnot anyway, so it's pretty much useless overall. Now there is no FPU, but once again, not a lot of people use that. But so this is the 40 megahertz 68 EC030, but it's slightly overclocked to run at 50. And as I can get my thumb out of the way, you can also hook up a ID interface, which in my case is going to be a compact flash card with, of course, the pre-installed workbench and all that fun stuff on it. Now this card did come with that, but I've also made my own, but I just use it for now. I did add this header here. These do get firmware updates to, I think the CPLD, you can program that for it to function so the Amiga knows what to do with this thing. It's basically auto-config. And this, I can update the firmware whenever it's needed. Now, it has the latest firmware, which gives a bit of a speed boost, but unfortunately, you can see right here, that's basically your disable right there. That does not work properly. Before it randomly worked, and then with the firmware update, it disables the card like it's supposed to, but unfortunately you can't boot any games. It's like it doesn't recognize the CD-ROM, which kind of defeats the purpose of the disabling process, since that's the only way you can get, the poor thing to do anything. So we have the card here, as you can see. And like I mentioned before, the compact flash, ribbon cable, and it actually came with that. When I ordered it via Amiba, you had the options of either just the card, or you could have also the expansion port, which definitely comes in handy. And of course, this was totally optional. But you know, you would like it to boot. So it, not sure what the price was. I think it was around $250 with everything, which really isn't bad if you're considering how much accelerator cards definitely cost back in the day, and still do now actually. So there you go. So I'm going to show you the process of installing this, and we shall go from there. And the best part is, when the time comes, this will be in color instead of the black and white, because we'll be using the RGB outputs of the adapters. So I'm going to show you how to install this, and I will be right back. One moment. Hello again, I have returned. So I've unplugged everything from the back of the CD32. Hopefully this will stay in frame as long as I don't move this too much. So basically, I have to stop saying so. I don't know why I keep doing that. Sorry about that. I'll try to limit that. Anyway, I will say it again. This screw has to come out. So this is holding on the trapdoor or blanking plate. And they do come out, kind of come off very strangely. I'm going to remove that screw. As you can see, it's a fair size, lengthwise anyways. Put that to the side. Now, there's actually a clip right here, and the reason why I have the butter knife, I can actually put that in there because you can see there's a bit of a groove there, or kind of like a cutout, and it came like that, so it's not like something that did that by itself. So it's down about here, so I can push this knife through here to push down on the release, and then the plate should come off. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, and I've done this before, hopefully I don't make a fool of myself. And like I said, I seldom edit my mistakes out of my videos, so what you're going to see is how it goes. Now the clip is, has to be kind of pushed in that way a bit, sorry, that way, to release it. So let's see what happens. Gently, oh there it is. There we go. And then it comes off, hopefully. Okay, and then pull it out, and try to pull it out not too far like this, because you'll see on here, I can show you, there's the clip there, which you have to kind of push in to release, but it has this catch here, which goes into this corner. So when you take that out, don't pry it too far, you might break that off, and I don't know, it'd be horrifying, yes, because these things are getting very expensive, especially these trapdoors or these blanking covers. They're almost, a lot of them don't come with them anymore. The reason why is this expansion I'm about to put on here, you can't put this back on at all. So maybe people lose them, or I don't know. Okay, so that task is out of the way. So if you're going to expand this, make sure you put that screw in that plate somewhere that you don't, lose it. Let me just adjust this slightly more here. One moment. Oh, goodness gracious, there we go. Okay, I can maybe move that a bit closer. Now, I'll take this with my arm in the way there, and we will plug in the card here. So it's going to go into the top one. Don't plug it in the bottom. The bottom is going to go on like that, right? So you don't want to plug it in the bottom. You'll find out soon enough it's not going to work. So what I like to do with this is I'm going to actually let me be back in one moment. Okay, I want to clean this connector. I had to make sure I got my isopropyl alcohol. You probably noticed earlier I had my fingers touching this edge connector, and of course you want to make sure you get it as clean as possible. So I'm just going to spray the edge of this cloth here, and I will grab that. So there, we got it all there, kind of wet. I don't think you can see that too well. And then I'm just going to gently clean that off before I put it into the, there we go. Let that dry a bit. Perfect. Now I'm ready to insert this, because I want to make sure everything goes well. So when I put this on, I'm going to be very firm, hold it straight, I mean firm in both hands, and just push. Yes, there we go. And now it's together. That part's done, pretty neat, yes. And of course, this is the easiest part, and we're going to plug that into here. And what I like about this socket is a lot of these boards, they'll just be the pins, there'll be no plastic socket, so you have to be very careful and pin 1 is lined up correctly. But this has the notch, the cable has the notch, and as long as you make sure that pin 1 is pin 1 on this card, it'll be fine. So it's basically keyed. So I'm going to put this on here gently, make sure none of the pins are gonna get squished, and we're in. That's it. So I'm just going to bend this over slightly here. Here, it's better that way. Just so it sits flush, because it's got to get in through here without touching too much. All that space up here is blank, empty, so that kind of works out well, but you got to make sure this is sitting flat. And as you can see, it pretty much rests right up against the connector. So, I mean, there you go. And now we will attempt to put this into the, what you call it, the actual computer. That's put away. Okay, I'll move this a bit closer so you can see a bit better. Tilt this down. There we go. Okay. So I'm checking everything's fine, everything looks good on this card, and it will go in like so. And see, bending this down, it should clear through here now. And I already cleaned the edge connector here just to be sure with some rubbing alcohol, and make sure there's a good connection, and of course in here as well, just to make sure there's a good connection. Okay, so just gently finagle this in, and then it slides in. There you go. Now the fun part, and it's not that hard, is there's a metal plate here. I don't think you can see on the camera. Just make sure that it goes above the connector, because it's very tight fit. Okay, there we go. Now this is the part I always love doing. Let me, I'm bracing this with my leg. I'm going to try to push in evenly. Push in evenly. One moment. It's hard to do this on camera. Oh, yeah, there we go. Kind of put a bit too much pressure down here, but it's fine. Everything went in well. Everything is functional. So there you go. Actually, there's the panoramic view of it. It's plugged in. Like I said, that cover will not fit on here, and that's it. It's hooked up, and we're going to see what happens. So what we're going to do is I'm going to hook it back up to the monitor over here, and I'll be back shortly. Okay, I have returned. I'm going to make a bit of room for myself, put some of the stuff away so I don't get it messed up. Okay, so we're going to take the power connector, which is right here, and plug that in to the back, making sure it's actually off so it doesn't suddenly spring into life. And it's pretty much, there's a video connector, which I'm not going to be using, but I'll connect it anyways. Remember, it's a composite. We're going to be using the RGB. So I'm going to hook these back up so my audio left and right. Oh, you can hear that. And good. And then the RGB cable, which is back here. I'm also the monitor, I'm going to change the switches at the back, so now we'll use the RGB input instead of the composite. And the 23-pin connector, which is becoming more and more scarce. And a lot of the ones that you can order now, there's SCART adapters and other stuff like that. It's basically SCART on one end and RGB on the other. Because these connectors are becoming so rare, and I can't blame them, a lot of the suppliers are taking the 25-pin serial type connectors and cutting off the edge so it fits, which is okay, but it's kind of nice that even for the one that's in here, it's an actual 23-pin. So I'm sure there's a commodity thing happening with those. So I'll plug this in here because they're coming so rare. Now when you plug this in, it actually goes in upside down. You have that D shape. So the longer part's on the top. You can't see that, sorry. The longer part is on the top. It actually goes like that. So it's upside down. You'll find out it doesn't fit otherwise. Okay, and I try to support the board a bit while I rock that back and forth. Now it's in. So basically, if I come around to this side here, without knocking the tripod too much, there's pretty much everything there connected. Okay, I haven't hooked up the keyboard yet. I guess I should do that now. It shouldn't take too long. It's just a regular PS2 keyboard. One moment, I put it way over here. Standard, boring keyboard, but it works. Yeah, see, white, boring monstrosity. But it functions well for what I'm using. Eventually I'll get a black one, I'm sure, if I can find them. And it plugs in. Yeah, so the flat part here, you can see how it is. It goes towards the back. You'll find out, they're keyed. So, there, that's it. And now the moment of truth. We shall come around to the front. Try not to move the camera too much to make everyone dizzy. Okay, let's see if this thing powers on. It better, it worked before. Famous last words. Okay. Oh, turn the monitor on. There we go. Okay. This accessed, it does reboot. It does something to do with, I think, the fast ROM feature. So it puts it in memory and then boots off of it. So that's going well. And the monitor, once it decides to focus, yeah, and there you go, a bit of moire happening on this display. And there it is, it's up and running. I don't actually have my mouse hooked up yet. Let me just do that and I will be right back. Okay, I have returned, and as you can see, the mouse works just fine. And we have, basically there's WHT load games on here. The system files, basically Workbench. And just some additional files like directory opus and all that fun stuff, which, you know, for file management. And as you can see, if I go into sysinfo, which everyone seems to use, including myself, and do a quick speed test, yeah, comes out around 8.9. Sometimes I get 9 depending on which direction the wind is, but not bad at all. And if I go into the memory section, which is right here, yes, I forgot to mention, this comes with 64, even though it says 0, it's actually 64 gigabytes. Gigabytes, yeah, I could imagine. 64 megabytes of RAM. So there you go. And like I said, there's no, yeah, it's running at 50 megahertz roughly. There's no FPU in this, but that's fine, or MMU, but like I said, that's seldom ever used anyways. And yeah, that's it pretty much. Now if you wonder, okay, if I keep rebooting this thing, it always boots to the Workbench. How do we get a CD32 to boot? Well, the good thing about that is, if you put it in first, it will boot off of it, and I shall show you. One moment. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will, of course we're at Workbench at the moment, I will find a CD32 game. We'll pick Bubba and Sticks, I guess. Because if I hit the reset button, all this is going to do is go back to Workbench. So I'm going to open up that lid there. Going to right there. Put the game in, like so. Gently close it. And let's go back to the monitor again. And I'm going to hit reset. And actually, you see right now, it actually comes up, you know, because it's right there. It's just called Bubba, and that's the, of course, the CD that I put in there. So bonus. So we know that works pretty well. So we're going to reboot, or I'm just going to hit the reset right here, and it should boot off of this by default. Right, reset. Okay. Now you're not going to see the Windows 32 logo or boot screen. It's just going to bypass all that. Oh, I lied. You will see this. You just won't see the intro part, the with the music and the disc. Yeah. So there that is. Yeah, I really like this intro. And the music is really nice. It's playing a CD audio track. And that looks like that's about it. And then it gets into the game. Eventually. It could be worse. Floppy was obviously a lot slower. Yeah. And there we go. So that's all you have to do if you want to just boot from the CD, put it in there, and then away you go. So you actually have the convenience of both. You have the Amiga CD32 to play your CD32 games, or you can boot to Workbench. So I'm going to restart this by opening this up. Some games reboot the system. This one did. Some do not. Some, when you open up the door, they just stay there at the either what you were playing, or just if it's CD audio, it'll stop playing altogether, and yeah, it just doesn't reboot. But some of them do. And then there you go. Now there is some incompatibility that's going to happen. That's kind of why I kind of wish that bypass switch worked on this. Maybe the promises to fix it in a in a future firmware update. That way it completely shuts off the card. You'll get no RAM. It's basically like it's not going to be there at all. So you can pretty much put this back to stock. Yeah. So that is pretty much it. Of course, it's a bit darker now because I turned off half the lights. But that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode for what it was. I tried to make it a quick one this time. My next episode will be the Terrible Fire 530, which is an expansion, 33 megahertz 6830 with FPU, an expansion for the Amiga 500. And that'll probably be in about a month's time, or maybe slightly sooner, who knows. So that's it for now. If you like this video, you can give me a thumbs up. If not, you can do the reverse. And of course, if you want to be alerted on future episodes, make sure that you turn on your notifications. So that's it for now, and like always, thanks for watching. One thing I wanted to show you that I discovered completely by accident, which is kind of interesting and funny and yet disturbing at the same time. This Humans CD32 game here. Now normally, because the way the CD32 is, you put the disc in, it boots up, you'll never see what the disc name actually is. And most of them, you know, like I have a Nick Manzel game, I have, you saw before, Bubba and Sticks, so Manzel was the name of one of them, Bubba was the other, so you think this would be called Humans. Well, it's not. I will show you. So I'm going to put this in here, this guy, and we'll see the name that appears on Workbench. So just give me one moment. I'm holding the camera at the moment, so I need both hands. I will be right back. Okay, the disk is loaded, and as you can see, you've got your Workbench icons there. There's a bit of flicker because of the CRT, but it's not too bad. So there's, you know, your usual icons there, the RAM disk, and of course the WHD load folder. And look at the name of, yes indeed, how interesting. That is the name of the Human CD, and I actually have two of these. So it's not like a glitch of some kind. That's interesting. But you know what? There's more to this story. I'm going to go over on the PC, and I'll show you what the full name of this is, and something else that's pretty interesting as well. So I will be with you shortly. So now I'm on the PC, so there's a bit more information that we can find about this nefarious game called Humans. So let us see what the extra name, you remember the one that was showing on the Amiga Workbench? Well, that was one word, the four-letter one, of course, and the PC, two show up. Ah, yes. What a nice name that is. So just in case there are children watching, I won't repeat this, but this might have British overtones perhaps, yes? But it doesn't end here. No, it doesn't. So I'll click OK on that. I'm now going to load in the startup sequence. It actually has something hidden within. Here we go. I shall load this. Okay. As you can see, you have the usual executable commands, free animation, and whatever game. Everything else here with the semicolons is commented out. So, humans written by Tosh, extra graphics by Andy. Game took over 2 weeks to convert from the original 500 version. Tells you all the stuff that's been added to it. And then, of course, this. The game to me is blank crap, and I'm doing Humans 2 now as well. And guess what? It too is crap. Yes, excellent. So it's kind of funny, these little hidden treasures, because normally you would never see this, right? Because on the Amiga CD32, it just boots in the game, right? So unless you threw it in the PC, or of course use the upgrade like I did with the Amiga CD32, this would be hidden for, well, from 99.9% of the people. So I thought I'd share this with you because I thought it was kind of funny. The history, I tell you. So I guess that this is definitely it now for this part 3 of the video. And like always, thanks for watching.